It was a quiet night in the desert. The wind moved slowly, whispering across the sand. John sat outside his small research station, staring at the sky. He liked the silence out here. No people, no noise, just stars and wind. He worked alone most of the time, fixing machines, collecting data, and sending reports that no one ever read. He sighed and sipped his coffee. Same sky, same stars, he murmured. Nothing ever changes. Then it happened. A bright blue light shot across the sky like a falling star, but it was faster, too fast. It wasn't moving like a meteor. It zigzagged, stopped, and then dropped straight down into the desert. A deep rumble followed, shaking the ground under his feet. John stood up, his heart beating fast. What the hell was that? He grabbed his flashlight and Jeep keys. Within minutes, he was driving through the sand, following the strange glow in the distance. The blue light still shimmered faintly above the dunes, like a heartbeat in the night. When he reached the crash site, he stopped in shock. It wasn't a meteor, it was a small craft, metallic, curved, and smooth like liquid silver. Steam hissed from cracks in its surface. Symbols glowed faintly along its side, symbols that looked nothing like any language on Earth. The air smelled like burning metal and something sweet, almost like flowers. John's hands trembled as he moved closer. Is this the ship? He whispered. Then he heard it, a soft sound like a whimper. He turned his flashlight. Inside the broken craft, a figure lay curled up, a small body in a silver suit bleeding blue from a wound on her arm. Her hair shimmered like moonlight, and her skin was pale with a faint glow. When the light touched her face, her eyes opened. They were silver too, bright and endless. Hey, are you okay? John asked, kneeling beside her. Can you hear me? The girl blinked, trying to focus. Her lips moved, but her voice was weak. Don't tell them, she whispered. They will find us. Then she went still. John's heart pounded. Oh, no, no, no. He gently lifted her. She felt light, almost weightless, like air. He looked around. The sky was empty, but the silence felt wrong, like something was listening. He carried her to his Jeep and drove back to the station as fast as he could. The desert behind him seemed alive, shadows shifting in the moonlight. Back at the station, he laid her on a cot. He cleaned her wound carefully. Her blood shimmered like liquid light before turning pale blue. It didn't make sense, but he didn't stop. He covered her with a blanket and checked her breathing. She's alive, he whispered in relief. Then he looked at the strange object she carried. A small cube, glowing faintly in his hand. When he touched it, it showed floating images of stars, planets, and a strange face wearing a crown. It disappeared the moment he blinked. What are you? He said quietly, staring at the sleeping girl. Suddenly, the lights flickered. His laptop turned on by itself. The screen showed static, then strange alien letters appeared. A robotic voice spoke through the speakers. Signal found. Target located. John's blood went cold. He rushed to the window. Outside, 3 tiny black drones floated above the sand. They moved silently, scanning the area with red lights. Damn it, John whispered. He shut off all the lights and ducked low. The drones hovered near his Jeep, scanning it, then moved toward the station. John's mind raced. He couldn't let them find her. Whoever they were, she was running from them, and now they were here. He grabbed a thick metal sheet and covered the window. The sound of the drones buzzed closer. One of them stopped right outside the door. John picked up a wrench and held his breath. The red light passed across the wall. For a long moment, everything was silent. Then the hum slowly faded away. He waited another minute before breathing out. When he turned around, the girl was awake. Her silver eyes stared at him, glowing faintly in the dark. They found me, she said softly. Who? John asked. Her lips trembled. My people. Outside, a low thunder rolled across the desert, though there were no clouds. The ground shook again. Something was moving beneath it, something mechanical. John looked at her. What do you mean, your people? You're not... She placed her finger on his lips. Please, she said. Don't speak. Don't move. They are near. He froze. The cube in his hand started to glow brighter and brighter. She reached out and pressed her palm over it. The light vanished instantly. Her voice was a whisper, but it carried power. You saved me. Now they will come for you too. The words sent chills down his spine. He didn't understand what was happening, but one thing was clear. This was no accident. Whatever she had escaped from was coming. And now, he was part of it. Outside, the drones returned. Hundreds this time. red eyes glowing in the dark. John looked at her. "What's your name?" She looked up slowly and said one word that would change his life forever. "Lyra." Then the window exploded. The explosion tore through the night like thunder. Glass shattered, and the sound of buzzing drones filled the air. John grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her down behind a metal table as small red lights swept through the smoke. "Stay down!" he shouted. Lyra's silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She raised her hand and a small blue wave of energy rippled through the air. The drones froze mid-flight, their lights flickering. One by one they dropped to the ground, silent. John stared at her in disbelief. What did you just do?" Her voice was calm but tired. "Short circuit." "It won't last long." Smoke curled around the room as she leaned weakly against the wall. "We have to move. They will send more." "Who are they?" John asked, his voice shaking. Lyra turned her eyes toward him, the silver glow softening. "My people," she said. "They call themselves the Seraph, but not all of us are the same." John quickly grabbed a backpack, stuffed it with food, water, and tools, and helped her to her feet. Outside, the night sky shimmered with strange movement. Small dark shapes floating far above, scanning the desert. As they ran toward the jeep, the silence was broken only by the soft crunch of sand beneath their feet. "Why are they after you?" he asked, starting the engine. She looked out the window, her face pale under the moonlight. "Because I know their secret." He glanced at her. "Secret? What kind of secret?" She hesitated. "The Seraph plan to invade your planet." John almost slammed on the brakes. "What? That's insane." But her voice was calm, steady. "Not insane. True." As they drove deeper into the desert, Lyra began to explain. She was sent to Earth as a watcher, part of a mission to study human behavior. Her kind believed humans were dangerous, emotional, unpredictable, too quick to fight. But when she arrived and lived among them, she saw something different. Humans could be cruel, yes, but they could also be kind, brave, and loyal. "When I sent my report," she said, "they didn't like what I wrote. I said humans could be friends, not enemies. My leaders called it weakness." "So they came after you," John said quietly. "Yes. They want to erase me and everything I learned." John tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The more she spoke, the more real it felt. "And what happens if they find you?" "They'll use me as proof," she said softly. "Proof that humans can be controlled." They stopped near an old factory far from any town. John parked behind broken walls and led her inside. The air was dry and filled with the smell of rust. Lyra sat down on a metal crate and pulled a small circular device from her suit. It flickered to life, projecting a faint blue map into the air, stars, planets, and lines connecting them. "This is the Seraph system," she said, pointing. "And this," she moved her hand, zooming in, "is Earth. They already built a gate near your world, hidden beyond your moon. Once it opens, their fleet will come through." John felt a chill crawl up his spine. "You mean an invasion?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, in less than 1 Earth month." He stared at the glowing map. "Then why tell me? I'm no soldier. I'm just—" One man, her eyes softened. "Because you helped me. You didn't have to, and that makes you different. Humans like you might be your planet's only hope." Suddenly, the hologram flickered. Lyra frowned and tapped the device. No. What's wrong?" John asked. "They're tracing me." Before she could move, a deep hum filled the air. The walls began to vibrate. A sharp flash of light tore through the factory roof, and from the crack in the ceiling, a metallic sphere descended, larger than a car, spinning with blue fire. Lyra's face turned pale. "They sent a hunter drone." John backed away. "A what?" Before he could finish, the drone fired a beam of light, slicing through the floor where he had been standing. The air smelled like burning metal. Lyra stood up, her hands glowing bright blue. "Get behind me!" She released a wave of energy. The ground shook and the drone staggered, its lights flickering. But she stumbled too, almost collapsing. John caught her before she fell. "Don't push yourself," he said. She gave a weak smile. "I have to. If they capture me, Earth dies." The drone started to recover. John spotted a fuel tank nearby and an idea hit him. He grabbed a metal pipe, swung it hard, and broke the valve. The smell of gas filled the air. "Lyra now," he shouted. She looked at him, nodded, and raised her hand one last time. Her light flared, and the drone exploded in a burst of fire that shook the entire factory. When the smoke cleared, she was trembling in his arms, barely conscious. You okay? He asked. She nodded weakly. For now. Her eyes fluttered open, silver light fading. But we can't stay. My mother will come for me. John blinked. Your mother? Lyra gave a faint smile before passing out. She's the queen, she whispered. John sat there in silence, holding her as the flames flickered around them. The words echoed in his head. The queen will come for me. He didn't know it yet, but the next person he'd meet would change everything he believed about humans, aliens, and love itself. The night had turned silent again, too silent. The factory walls were still smoking from the explosion, and the air smelled like burnt metal and dust. John sat on the cold floor, his hands trembling as he looked at Lyra. Her skin glowed faintly blue in the dark, her breathing slow but steady. He could still hear the echo of her last words. My mother will come for me. But what kind of mother could cross stars? John didn't know, yet deep down he felt that whatever was coming, it wasn't human. He stood up, coughing from the smoke, and looked outside through a broken wall. The sky was no longer clear. Strange clouds swirled in the distance, glowing purple and red. They weren't clouds at all, more like energy waves, twisting the stars behind them. Looks like the whole sky's broken, he muttered. He checked his Jeep, half burned, still smoking, but the engine might survive. He turned back to Lyra, who was slowly waking up. Her silver eyes opened, dazed but alert. They're not done. The hunters will send more. Then we need to move, John said. Now. She nodded weakly, trying to stand. He helped her to her feet. Her touch felt warm, too warm, almost alive with electricity. When she stumbled, he caught her again. Your body temperature's rising, he said. Are you hurt? It's not pain, she whispered. It's my power. It's growing unstable. My mother is trying to find me through the stars. That sentence froze him. She's looking for you. Lyra nodded. And if she finds me here, the Seraph will find her too. And when they find her, John swallowed hard. They'll come for Earth. They left the factory before dawn. The desert stretched endlessly, quiet but watching. The strange clouds above still shimmered with faint light, like something waiting to open. As they drove, Lyra stared at the horizon. I sent a signal, she said softly, before the drones attacked. My mother must have received it. John kept his eyes on the road. So your mother's coming here? Yes, she whispered. And she won't be happy. He almost laughed. Yeah, mothers usually aren't when their kids crash spaceships into deserts. But Lyra didn't smile. You don't understand, John. My mother isn't just a mother. She's the ruler of the Seraph Dominion. Billions follow her orders. If she comes to Earth, it could mean war. John's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Then maybe we can stop her. Hide you somewhere safe. Lyra turned to him, her voice soft but sad. There is no safe place, not anymore. I broke the law of my kind. I helped a human. Hours later, they reached an old mining cave hidden in the desert cliffs. The air was cool and dry. John parked the Jeep inside and helped Lyra set up a small light. She sat down, exhausted. He could see faint cracks of blue energy along her skin, like lightning trapped under glass. Your power, he said quietly. It's getting worse. It's not pain, she said again, closing her eyes. It's her voice. She's calling me through the void. Then suddenly the ground trembled. A sound filled the air. A low hum that vibrated through stone. The light flickered. Lyra opened her eyes, glowing now brighter than ever. She's here. John looked up. Who? My mother. The sky above the cave split open like glass breaking underwater. A ring of white fire appeared, swirling faster and faster. Lightning struck the sand outside. From the heart of the storm, a massive shape descended, smooth, silver, and alive with light. A ship, larger than any building John had ever seen, floated silently above the desert. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, and strange runes burned along its hull. Lyra stood at the cave entrance, wind blowing her hair. That's her vessel. John stepped beside her, speechless. That's a ship? No, Lyra said softly. That's a throne. The ship's light cut through the desert, and then with a flash, a tall figure appeared before them, glowing, elegant, and terrifying. Her presence filled the air with pressure like gravity itself bowed to her. She had the same silver eyes as Lyra, but deeper, older, with streaks of gold in them. Her long white hair flowed like starlight, and her armor gleamed with energy patterns. Lyra's voice trembled. Mother, John froze. This was the Queen. The woman looked at her daughter, then at him. Her eyes narrowed. A human, she said, her voice calm but sharp. You hid among them? Lyra nodded. He saved my life. The Queen's gaze moved to John again. Why? John swallowed hard. Because she needed help. There was silence. The air itself seemed to wait. Then the Queen smiled, cold and unreadable. You risked your life for my child, and for that you have my thanks. But you must forget everything you saw. John shook his head. No. If what Lyra said is true, your people are planning to destroy Earth. I can't forget that. The Queen tilted her head, studying him like a strange creature. You're brave for a human, foolish, but brave. Then for the first time her expression softened. She turned to Lyra. You care for this human? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, he's not like the others. He listens. The Queen's eyes flickered with something. Memory, maybe sadness. She looked at John again. You want a wife, human? She said suddenly, her tone almost mocking. John blinked. What? Lyra smiled faintly through her exhaustion. Mother, she said softly. You'd be perfect for him. The Queen froze and John's mouth fell open. The desert wind went silent. Even the stars seemed to pause. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the Queen let out a low laugh, deep, strange, and sad. You are bold, my daughter, she said. Too bold. But as her eyes met John's again, her laughter faded. There was something else there now, curiosity, and a spark of something she hadn't felt in centuries. For a long time, the desert stood silent. Wind whispered across the sand, carrying the smell of heat and burned metal. The Queen's ship floated above them like a silver moon, its shadow stretching over the cave and the broken land. John stood frozen. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the giant alien craft or the woman standing before him. She wasn't just beautiful. She was powerful in a way that made the air around her feel alive. Lyra looked between them, a faint, mischievous smile on her face. Mother, you've been alone for too long. Maybe this human is the reason the stars sent me here. The Queen's golden-silver eyes narrowed slightly. Lyra, she said softly, this is not the time for jokes. But John could see something flicker in her expression. Confusion, maybe curiosity. The Queen stepped closer. Her presence was overwhelming, like standing near lightning that refused to strike. You helped my daughter, she said, her voice smooth but sharp. You risked your life for her, though you owe her nothing. John swallowed, trying to sound calm. Anyone would have done the same. Her eyes glowed faintly. No, she said simply. Most humans would have run. He didn't know how to answer that. The Queen turned to Lyra. You said he wants a wife. Lyra grinned, weak but playful. Yes, Mother. He said he's lonely. I told him you're perfect, John almost choked. Lyra! The Queen's face didn't change, but the air seemed to freeze. Then she spoke, voice quiet but heavy. You think a Queen of the Seraph should marry a human? Lyra shrugged. Why not? He saved your daughter. And you've always said courage is rare, even among your own kind. The Queen looked at John again. Do you believe yourself worthy of such a thing, human? John stared at her, lost for words. I didn't ask for that. I just wanted to help her. Her eyes studied him like he was a puzzle. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. A soft, tired smile that didn't match her power. You remind me of someone, she said quietly. Long ago, before I became a queen, before the wars, I met a human who looked at me the same way, with fear and wonder. Lyra tilted her head. You never told me that story. The Queen turned her gaze toward the stars. Because it ended badly. Lightning flashed above as her ship rumbled. The energy in the air grew heavy. The Queen lifted her hand and a shimmering barrier of light appeared around them. They will be coming, she said. The Seraph Council must have tracked my arrival. They do not forgive disobedience. Disobedience? John asked. Yes, she said, lowering her hand. Coming here was forbidden. Contact with humans is punishable by death. Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling. Then why did you come? The Queen looked at her daughter, then at John. Because you called for me, and because of him, John blinked. Me? She nodded. Your signal carried emotion, fear, courage, hope. I felt it. Humans are louder than you realize. You think, you feel, you fight. It echoes through space. He wasn't sure if she was complimenting him or warning him. Then, suddenly, the ground shook. A beam of light from the sky cut across the sand nearby, burning it to glass. The queen raised her hand and a golden shield appeared, blocking another blast. "They've found us," she said coldly. Lyra's eyes widened. "The hunters?" "No," said the queen. "Worse. The council's enforcers." The desert sky opened like a wound. 5 dark ships dropping through the clouds, glowing red with weapons ready. John looked up in horror. "You can't fight all that." The queen smiled faintly. "You forget, human, I am the one they fear." She lifted both hands. Her body glowed, brighter and brighter, until even the sand began to vibrate. The air exploded with energy, and one by one the enemy ships shattered like glass. The sound faded, leaving only silence. When the light dimmed, the queen knelt slightly, catching her breath. Her armor cracked at the shoulders, sparks of golden light escaping. Lyra rushed to her side. "Mother, you used too much power." "I had no choice," the queen said softly. "If they had survived, they would have followed us to your world's cities." John stepped forward, helping Lyra hold her up. Her touch was cold now, cold and trembling. "Why help humans?" he asked quietly. "If your people hate us so much." The queen looked at him, her eyes suddenly sad. "Because once I loved one of you." Lyra froze. "You mean the human from your story?" The queen nodded slowly. "He died saving me. His last words were, 'Love makes us stronger, not weaker.' My people never understood that. But maybe he was right." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Lyra, still trying to lighten the heavy air, smiled softly. "So, mother, will you marry him then?" John's eyes widened. "Lyra!" The queen's golden eyes glimmered. "Perhaps," she said, her voice calm but unreadable. "If he proves himself worthy of the stars." The desert wind blew gently again. Above them, the queen's ship began to glow with soft white light, as if waiting for her decision. John stared at her, half in awe, half in disbelief. "And how do I do that?" She smiled, the kind of smile that held both danger and beauty. "You'll find out soon, human." Then she turned to the horizon, where the first rays of dawn touched the sky. The sun rose slowly over the desert, turning the broken sand into rivers of gold. The queen's ship still floated above them, silent and majestic, glowing like a moon that refused to leave the sky. John stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the sunrise. He couldn't believe everything that had happened in one night: spaceships, aliens, a queen, and now a promise he didn't understand. "If he proves himself worthy of the stars." Those words echoed in his mind again and again. Behind him, Lyra was fixing a small metal orb that hummed softly in her hands. Her face looked calmer now, but her eyes carried worry. "She wasn't joking," Lyra said quietly. "My mother never says something she doesn't mean. If she said you must prove yourself, she's already watching you." John glanced at her. "Watching me? How?" Lyra smirked. "She doesn't need cameras, John. She feels energy. Every thought, every fear. If your heart is weak, she'll know." "Great," he muttered. "No pressure, then." The queen stood a short distance away, her long silver cloak flowing in the wind. She wasn't looking at them. She was staring at the horizon as if seeing something beyond it. John hesitated, then walked over. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "you used your power to save us. You're hurt. You should rest." She turned her head slightly, her golden eyes meeting his. "Rest is for those who have time," she said. "I have lived too long to need it." He studied her face. Even in exhaustion, she looked calm, proud, and sad. "Lyra told me you once loved a human," he said quietly. "Was that true?" For a moment she didn't answer. Then she said, "Yes. His name was Elias. He was a soldier who found me when my ship crashed here centuries ago. I was not a queen then, just a scout. He hid me from your armies just as you hid Lyra." "What happened to him?" John asked gently. She looked away, her voice soft but filled with weight. "He died to protect me. When my people came for me, he stood between us and their fire. I begged him to let me go, but he smiled and said, 'Even stars need someone to believe in them.'" She closed her eyes. "After he died, I became queen. I swore never to return here. Humans were too dangerous to my heart." The silence stretched. John didn't know what to say. Finally, he whispered, maybe he was right. Maybe stars do need someone. The queen turned to him again, and for the first time her voice softened. "You speak like him," she said. That is dangerous. Before he could reply, the ground trembled. The Queen's expression changed. Calm turned to focus. Lyra looked up, alarmed. Mother, what's wrong? They found the gate, the Queen said. The Seraph fleet has begun activating it near your moon. John's stomach tightened. You mean the invasion? The Queen nodded.
Yes, the gate will open in hours.
When it does, your skies will burn. Lyra stepped closer. We can stop it. If we destroy the power relay, the portal can't stabilize. John frowned.
Where's the relay?
The Queen pointed toward the west. Buried under your government's research base, your Area 51, as you call it. They found our technology decades ago, and my council used it to build the gate link. John blinked. You're saying Earth helped them? Without knowing it, she said. Your scientists thought they were learning from a crash. They were being used. Lyra grabbed her tools. Then we have to go there now. The Queen nodded. Yes, but it will not be easy. The base is guarded by both humans and Seraph machines. You will need both worlds to trust each other. John looked between them. So what's the plan? The Queen turned to him fully, her eyes glowing brighter. You will go first. You are human. They will believe you. What about you? He asked. She smiled faintly. I will watch. If you fail, I will end the invasion my way. John didn't like the sound of that.
And your way means?
She stepped closer, her voice quiet but full of power, turning this planet into ashes before they can touch it. He froze. You'd destroy Earth? If it means saving Lyra and the balance of the stars, yes, Lyra gasped. Mother! The Queen looked at her daughter gently. Don't look at me like that, child. A queen must choose the galaxy over one world. John shook his head. No, not this time. I won't let that happen. The Queen raised an eyebrow. And what can you do, human? You are one man. He stepped closer, his voice steady. One man who believes what Elias did, that even stars need someone to believe in them. Maybe your people forgot what that means, but I'll remind them. For the first time, the Queen didn't speak. Her eyes softened, almost like light fading through clouds. You're not afraid of me, she said. Should I be? He asked, her lips curved into a small, mysterious smile. Yes, she whispered. And no. She turned to her ship and a ramp of light appeared. Then go, John. Prove yourself worthy of the stars. Prove that humans deserve to live among them. He nodded and started walking toward the ramp. The Queen watched him go, her heart caught between duty and something she hadn't felt in 1,000 years. Lyra whispered beside her, You like him? The Queen didn't look away. He is human. That is reason enough not to. But her tone said something different. High above, the Queen's ship began to rise, cutting through the clouds like a silver arrow. Below, John drove toward Area 51 with Lyra beside him, unaware that the test awaiting him would decide not only Earth's fate, but the Queen's heart as well. The road to Area 51 cut through the desert like a scar. Wind howled across the empty landscape, lifting clouds of dust behind John's Jeep as it raced through the dawn. The first rays of sunlight painted the world gold, but there was no warmth in it. The air felt heavy, charged, as if the sky itself was waiting for a war. Lyra sat beside him, pale and silent, her silver eyes reflecting the horizon. She held a small alien sphere in her hands, its surface glowing faintly blue. John glanced at it. That thing, what does it do? It connects to the Seraph network, she said quietly. Once we're close to the gate's relay, I can use it to shut down the energy core. But if they detect the signal before I finish, they'll know where we are, she nodded. And they'll send the enforcers. John tightened his grip on the wheel. Then we'll be fast. Hours later, they reached the mountains. The secret base was hidden beneath a rocky valley, a maze of radar towers, white domes, and steel fences guarded by soldiers. But something was wrong. The sky above it shimmered faintly with rings of blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra's voice was trembling. It's already active. They've started the gate. John parked behind a ridge and peeked through binoculars. There are human soldiers down there, but they're not fighting. They're just standing still, she frowned. No, not standing. They're being controlled. John lowered the binoculars and saw it too, their eyes glowing faintly red, movements mechanical and slow. The Seraph have infected them, Lyra whispered. Mind link control. They use the relay's energy to turn humans into drones. John clenched his fists. Then we'll break it. They moved quietly through the shadows, slipping past the fence and into a ventilation shaft. The deeper they went, the louder the hum of the gate became. It wasn't a sound. It was a vibration that crawled into the bones. When they reached the main chamber, John stopped in awe. In the center of the vast underground hall floated a massive ring of silver metal, pulsing with blue fire. Lightning danced around it, forming shapes, stars, planets, shadows. Lyra's sphere glowed in response. "That's the portal core," she said. "If I link to it, I can shut it down, but I'll need time." John nodded. "Do it. I'll keep you safe." As Lyra knelt beside the console, connecting the sphere's wires, John found a weapon, an abandoned rifle near the stairs. He didn't know if bullets would matter against aliens, but it made him feel less helpless. Then, the air trembled. Out of the shadows stepped tall, silver-armored figures, Seraph enforcers. Their movements were silent, smooth, almost ghost-like. Their eyes glowed gold. John aimed the rifle. "Lyra, hurry!" The first enforcer raised a hand and the rifle flew out of his grip, thrown by invisible force. John rolled aside as the floor cracked under an energy blast. Lyra's voice echoed through the chaos. "Just a few more seconds." John grabbed a metal pipe and swung it, striking one enforcer across the chest. Sparks flew. The alien turned its head slowly, as if amused. John swung again, harder, this time hitting its mask. The mask cracked and the creature hissed in pain. He grinned. "Guess you do bleed." But there were 3 more coming. Suddenly, light burst from above, pure golden light that filled the entire chamber. The air shook, and the enforcers froze mid-step. From the glowing dust descended the queen. Her armor gleamed like fire, her eyes burning with fury. No one touches them. With one wave of her hand, the air turned into a storm. The enforcers were thrown back, their armor shattering. The walls cracked and machines exploded around her. John shielded his eyes from the light. "You came." Her voice echoed like thunder. "I told you I would watch, and I do not watch my people die." Lyra finished her work, shouting, "Mother, the gate, it's not stopping. It's pulling energy from the moon's relay. I can't shut it down alone." The queen turned to her. "Then we end it together." She raised both hands, forming a sphere of pure light between them. The energy grew, shaking the ground. But John could see the pain on her face, the cost of what she was doing. "Wait," he shouted. "You'll burn yourself!" She smiled faintly, sweat glistening on her skin. "Power means nothing if it saves those I love." He stared, stunned. "You love?" Her eyes met his, soft for the first time. "You taught me that word again." And then she screamed, releasing the power. The explosion of light swallowed everything, machines, metal, air, all turning into waves of energy. When the light faded, the gate was gone. The room was half destroyed. Lyra was unconscious but alive. The queen knelt on the ground, her armor cracked, her glow fading. John ran to her, dropping to his knees. "Don't you dare die on me," she smiled weakly. "You sound like Elias," he took her hand. "I'm not him, but I'm here." Her fingers tightened around his. "Then hear me, John of Earth. You have proven yourself worthy, not because you fought, but because you cared." He felt his throat tighten. "Then stay. Don't leave again." Her eyes shimmered faintly, gold fading into silver. "If I stay, my world will fall. But if I go, maybe our worlds can meet again one day." He shook his head, voice cracking. "You can't," she touched his face gently. "I already did." A blinding light enveloped her again, and before he could speak, she vanished, leaving only the faint scent of lightning and stars. Lyra stirred and looked up. "She's gone, isn't she?" John nodded slowly, his voice low. "Yeah, but she saved everything." Lyra smiled sadly. "That's what mothers do." Outside, the desert was quiet again. The sky was clear. The portal was gone. John stood alone in the sunlight, clutching the silver crystal the queen had left behind. It pulsed faintly with light. He whispered, "You said I was worthy. Then I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes." The wind carried his words into the horizon, where the morning star still glowed faintly, like her eyes watching from afar. Years passed. The war that almost began never came. No one on Earth ever knew how close their world had been to vanishing into light. Governments buried the evidence, sealed the desert, and built silence over truth. But one man remembered. John lived quietly in a small cabin built near the same desert where it had all begun. Every night he would step outside, sit on the porch, and look up at the stars. He didn't drink anymore, didn't dream much, and didn't talk about aliens. But in his pocket he always carried the same thing, a small silver crystal that glowed faintly whenever the wind changed. Sometimes it was dull. Sometimes it shimmered, and sometimes when the night was quiet enough he could almost hear her voice. One evening a storm rolled across the horizon, thunder rumbling low like a heartbeat. John leaned on the railing, watching lightning dance over the dunes. "Feels like you're close tonight," he murmured, touching the crystal. It flickered faintly at first, then stronger. The clouds began to swirl, and for the first time in years he heard it, soft, distant, familiar. "John." He froze. The voice wasn't in his ears, it was in his mind. Gentle calm filled with light, he whispered, "Sarah." The storm above split open with a beam of white light that reached down and stopped right in front of him. Inside the glow, a faint figure appeared, half real, half made of starlight. The Queen. Her form was different now. No armor, no crown, just light shaped like memory, moving like a dream. Her gold and silver eyes glowed softly as she smiled. "It's been long, human," she said. John laughed, his voice breaking. You're really here?" "Only for a moment," she said. "The distance between our worlds grows thin when both hearts remember." He stepped closer, feeling warmth from the light. "You said you'd come back. I kept my word," she whispered. "My people changed after the gates fall. Some now believe humans are not enemies, but echoes of what we once were. I told them of you, of your courage, of your heart," he smiled faintly. "And what did they say?" "That their queen had gone mad," she said softly with a small laugh that made his chest ache. But some listened. She looked at him for a long moment, her voice quieter now. "Your world is safe, John, but my time here is short. The stars will pull me back soon." He swallowed hard. "Then why come at all?" Her light flickered like a heartbeat. "Because I wanted to see you again. Not as a queen, but as a woman who once loved a human." John took a shaky breath. "And what about now?" She smiled. "Now I love a memory that refuses to fade." The wind carried the sound of her words like music. Then from behind her light, a smaller figure stepped forward. A young woman, silver eyes, short hair, a familiar smile. "Lyra," John whispered. She grinned. "You didn't think we'd forget you, did you?" He laughed softly. "You grew up," she winked. "Not really. Time runs differently out there." Sarah looked at her daughter with quiet pride. She insisted on coming. Said you'd need to see a familiar face. Lyra held up a small orb glowing blue. "Mother built this bridge. It links our worlds for just a few minutes every century." John raised an eyebrow. "Every century?" She shrugged. "Time's weird between stars." The Queen stepped closer, her light brushing against his face. He could feel it, not skin, but warmth, pure and soft. "John of Earth," she said gently. "When I first met you, I thought of you as fragile, but you showed me something stronger than any army. Hope." He looked up at her eyes shining. "And you showed me something stronger than fear, love." Her light flickered again. She was fading. "Wait," he said, reaching out. "Don't go." Her voice trembled now, the way light trembles before sunrise. "I must. The bridge is closing." He grabbed the crystal from his pocket and held it out. "Then take this back. If you ever forget what we fought for, let this remind you." She smiled, her hand made of light touching his. "No, John, keep it. So you never forget that somewhere beyond your sky a queen remembers you." The light began to fade, the storm softening. Lyra's voice echoed faintly. "Goodbye, John. Don't stop looking at the stars." Sarah's last words came like a whisper in the wind. "Love does not end, my human. It only travels farther." And then they were gone. The night fell quiet again. The desert stretched endless and still. But the stars, oh, the stars were brighter than ever, as if someone had polished the heavens just for him. John sat down, holding the crystal close. It glowed once, then dimmed. But he didn't feel sad. Not this time, he smiled. "You kept your promise." Somewhere far across the galaxy, maybe another smile answered. The end.